When Michael Gachanja Mwangi's kidneys started failing, fortunes changed for his family. All the wealth he had amassed over the last 17 years as a high school teacher was literally flushed down the drain.
There before I used to stay outside the school, but it became very difficult for me to pay the house rent outside there. And so my principal, Mr. Kimida, decided to house me in the school so that also I can get something from this farm to cushion myself.
It is hard to believe this was a relatively well-to-do family with a 7-ton Mitsubishi truck and had already built a house on a plot around Mwiga Inn, one of Nyeri's prime estates. But come 2014, and the first of their treasured assets, the lorry, was put up for sale.
I had bought it around 4.5 million. But by the time I came to sell it, people knew the reason of selling it. So they were not willing to buy it on a high price. So I had to sell it around 1.2.
5 months later, they would discover that his kidneys had malfunctioned. Unable to clean his own blood, a process that usually leads to urine formation, his body would retain all the water and the toxins therein. It changed his physical appearance. Mwangi's body was screaming for dialysis, a costly treatment that until last week they could only access in Nairobi.
I started with Upper Hill Medical Center. I started with three sessions. That is 30,000.
And that is besides the medicines?
The medicines are around 10,000 per session also.
So then, that was almost 60,000 a week?
Yeah, a week.
The treatment would alter their lives completely. For his wife, Lixi, all else had to stop. She had to close her second-hand cloth business.
Enyewe ilikuwa pressure juu sometimes hata unashindwa kwenda. That time tulikuwa tunaenda Monday, Wednesday and Saturday. Lakini sasa tukashindwa, saa zingine unashindwa kwenda juu umekosa pesa.
That's the time I decided to sell the other plot that is near Kenyatta Road. The place was very prime. I had to sell it at 2.5. In fact, at the moment as we speak, it's around 4 million for an eighth. Yeah, in fact, it reached that time. I asked God, it is good that I can die, so at least I can leave my family with something.
Hata alikuwa ameshachukua bairo na paper ndio aanze kuandika. Akaniambia mimi nilikuwa nataka nikuandikie barua, nikwambie mimi sikuwa na ubaya na umenisaidia kutosha, lakini si wewe umefanya. Ni vile nimeona nimeenda through na nawafanya mufirisike kabisa, hata kula mkuli vizuri.
When kidney failure comes and you start dialysis, things change for the worse. You are left with nothing.
The Ministry of Health estimates that at least 1.5 million Kenyans sink into poverty every year because they are forced to sell virtually everything they own besides borrowing from friends and strangers to settle hospital bills. Health experts call this catastrophic health expenditure.
You can't imagine the cost of medication when you have to go back to your pocket. Basically, none can afford.
And with health experts predicting a rise in chronic illnesses in the next 2 decades, health insurance, they say, will be the only solution to beat the colossal medical costs. It is only until 2 months ago that this family got a relief. The National Hospital Insurance Fund started paying for dialysis. That would leave them with the burden of buying the necessary drugs and planning for a transplant, the ultimate treatment for kidney disease. So far, NHIF covers the 2.9 million Kenyans employed in the formal sector and their families, and a further 4 million in the informal sector. But with 40 million people, over 80% of Kenya's population is exposed.
Just like it is mandatory, you should have your motor vehicle insured. Imagine if it was free, people are let free. Would they not insure their motor vehicle? I can assure you, none of them would pay. The same, that's why you find in the formal sector is compulsory that you should have at least some formal medical cover.
It always takes 4 hours to clean his blood. And after dialysis, Mwangi goes back to class to teach.
Assalamu alaikum wanafunzi.
The only worry for the head of Kiswahili in this school right now is how to finance his 2.5 million shilling kidney transplant. Sylvia Chebet, Monday Special, Nyeri.